Good morning. I'm checking in on my backyard garden. This is a citrus tree that I found at an estate sale that I was actually got for just hauling it away. They wanted it out of there and no one knew what it was, but goodness, it smells fantastic. So you can see it's setting little fruit. The little green part down here is where the fruit will grow, and the flowers are starting to fall off, but it still smells just fantastic. I'm feeding it with some citrus tone or I think it's called citratone perhaps, and I'm also giving it compost tea and have been doing that for the last few months. So it's looking a lot healthier than it was when I first got it. This is a lemon balm that I got as a little cutting last year. Did not grow very well, but back to that compost tea, I realized how poor the soil is here. It's very sandy. It's not quite like beach sand, but it's terribly sandy and drains very quickly. So whenever it's watered, it needs to be watered again within a few days because it just doesn't hold any moisture. This is my first daisy. I grew up calling these Barberton daisies, but they're known as Gerbera daisies or Gerber daisies, and they are just quite pretty. They are nice in a vase too. You can pick them and they last quite a long time in the house. Those are gladiola in the back, and these have not flowered yet, but I think it's a blue Siberian iris. This is a really large shrub which needs to be moved. It's a gardenia, and I had grown this just from a cutting. You can see right in the center are the flower buds, so this should be blooming fairly soon. So it's really not ideal to transplant it anytime soon, but I did dig up the other one that was over here because buried underneath were quite a lot of other plants, and I wanted to give them some space to grow and to get some sunshine. When I first was given a bunch of plants, I had no idea what they were, so I just put them in the ground, and unfortunately this little plant needs to be right at the front because it's a very low growing plant and it needs to be seen, and it's kind of was buried in the back. These pinks have opened up beautifully since just a few days ago, and there's a new bud. This is the African blue basil, and I cut back all the dead things. I can show you over here all the branches and stems. So that opens up this area quite nicely. And then behind it, and kind of in between, were all of these plants. So I've dug up a lot of them, and I'm sure there'll be more that I missed because they leave quite a mass of bulbs. And you can see over here, it's like this big mesh of bulbs and roots. It is a fairly pretty plant. It has a kind of an orangey red flower, which is quite pretty, but this is how much it's grown in the last 2 years, so it spreads very quickly, and I don't want this taking over my whole property. So I don't know where it came from. I think a neighbor gave me some, and it's really taken off, and I've got quite a few patches of it, so I'm going to start removing those and getting rid of them as they come up again. I'm sure we left behind lots and lots of little bulbs. And in between I found a few, I think that this may be a daffodil, but it didn't flower. Oh, and then I left one by accident, so I'll have to dig this up. And what I realized is I can't pull them out. You have to actually use a spade or a fork to lift them, because otherwise the bulb just snaps off. So this area looks quite different now. I grew up with this plant, calling it a siskiyou. Not sure if that is its actual name, but I'm just looking at it and it looks like it's full of some kind of little bug. I'm not sure what that is, so I'll have to get some soapy water and clean this off today. I have no idea where that came from. I've never seen it before. Oh, this is exciting. I have a little bud on this, and I believe this is an iris of some sort. I think it's a blue flower, but we'll check back in a few days and I'm sure they'll be flowering. I know it's amazing how quickly they pop up and start flowering. These are agapanthus, and these are very special. They came from a farm in Africa. This is another coral bell, and hopefully I get some bells this year, because the last year didn't produce any. These are some delphinium flowers, and hopefully it'll grow up and look like this one. It perhaps is a lighter color blue, but this is a lupin, and it's set some seeds. So you can see this is the seed pod. Those need to be left on the plant for quite a while to ripen, and then I can pick them and save them. This is fennel back here, and unfortunately it's kind of in the middle of another one of these plants. Oh, look at this. They kind of were buried, but they have some buds on the ends of them. So one of them needs to move, most likely the fennel. I think I'll pull that out and give some space to the plants around it. This is interesting. It's some kind of a fungus. How weird is that? That just popped up in the last couple of days. Look at that. It's really weird. I think that's what happens when you have some wood mulch that is slowly decaying. This is another patch of those plants that I need to pull out. You can see how unruly they are. They just keep spreading in it, and I probably planted 5 or 6 bulbs, so it's amazing how quickly they've taken over this area in a couple years. And this is either a Shasta daisy or perhaps black-eyed Susan, I'm not sure. And then this is yarrow that I grew from seed. Did not do very well last year, so I'm trying to feed it more. Again, I think back to the soil quality. It needs so much more food than I've ever needed to give plants. And the other reason for that is we have really heavy rains which wash away the nutrients whenever you do put down something. So this is a coral bell that's actually made a flower. So I have been feeding this area because of the rose bush. So this rose produced probably 3 flowers last year, so I've started giving it some more compost tea. It's not in great shape. A neighbor was throwing it out, so I tried to save it. And And so this area has been getting more nutrients just from the, you know, the compost tea. And you can see the difference in this plant. This is a Siskiyou, the same as that one that I just showed you that had the bugs on it, just a different color. And you can see how huge this is. And they were planted at the same time, so it all goes back to the food. So food, water, light, those are, and those really are your main three things to look for when you want to plant something. This is quite spectacular. I've never had an amaryllis in the garden, and somebody had given me an amaryllis in a pot, and I stuck it in the garden in the winter time, and my mistake, it's right next to this, I guess this is an iris, but it looks like it's kind of a white color. So, well, that'll be an exciting thing to see. And back here are some flowers coming up. I'd planted a handful of bulbs that I got at a discount store, and who knows what they are, so that'll be fun to see when they come up. How spectacular this is. It's amazing. It's the 5th of April. This is a pretty little plant. It's very low growing and has blue flowers, but again did not do very well last year. This is more of that plant that I need to take out. I need to find the name of that. This is a creeper and has a pretty white flower. So in just a few days, you can see this peony has grown probably, I don't know, it looks like it's grown about 5 inches, which is quite remarkable. And then these swamp daisies, they grow about as tall as the fence or even over the fence, and have a really pretty yellow flower, but there are just way too many of them, so I'm going to have to move those. And they also are crowding into this area where I have an elderberry, so that needs more space. And the thing is, when you have a plant like this that takes over, it's kind of invasive, they use up so much of the nutrients, so the other plants around that you really do want to keep end up not getting enough nutrients. Which they won't necessarily die, but they just don't produce flowers, and they don't they don't keep growing the way you want them to grow. So we'll check in with these guys later. Back on this side we have some herbs. These are a few zinnia seeds that I planted that just popped up. That's sage and rosemary. I thought that this was borage, but I think it is Dr. Knitbone. This is an Italian parsley. And this is a pot of flowers from another neighbor. It has a really pretty red flower, but I'll move that out of the veggie garden soon. And the other thing I did this morning, I pulled out all of the, you can see this, the parsley that was at the bottom of my blueberry bush. I was looking at it and realizing that the berries just don't seem to be growing as quickly as I thought they should. And I thought perhaps it was because I'd forgotten about these guys. So this is all Italian parsley, and it had just grown from seed from last year. And when it first grew up, I thought, well, it's a good kind of ground cover because it's keeping the plant moist. and you know, the sun's not drying it out as quickly. But I think what was happening is it was taking too many nutrients out of the soil. And the thing with a pot is you really only have so much space for nutrients. And looking at all these berries, I think they just need a lot more food. So hopefully this will make a difference. I put some compost on the bottom and watered it really well. And then these berries next door are looking fantastic. This is the neighboring pot, and it's a different variety. And these look really great. I'm guessing probably in a week or two I'll have to put a net on this area just to keep the berries covered, because we have raccoons that come up from the river and they will nibble on the blueberries, and I want to try and save as many for myself as possible. And of course the other thing is the birds will love the berries. And I'm rather selfish. I don't like sharing my blueberries with the birds. Thanks for watching. We'll check in again in a few days' time.